I'm Deborah Peel. I'm the founder and chair of Patient Privacy Rights. Well, I'm looking at Esther Dyson justifying releasing her genomic and medical history to the world. That's what I'm doing. I'm watching what she's doing.
Can I get other people involved in being more healthy? The whole looking at a person not just as a consumer.
She doesn't want people to be afraid of sharing their genomes or sharing their health records, but you know, she and I come from
probably 3 or 4 years ago when he told me he had this notion of people posting their genomes online, and probably like hundreds of people. I said, wow, that's a really cool idea. But like a much smaller number, I actually stayed in touch, and when he finally got independent.
So what do you think?
Well, the problem is it's not a really cool idea. Esther could only talk like this if she had no knowledge of how far and wide people's very sensitive health data is used, shared, stolen, and sold today. She could only say these things. She could only say these things if she didn't know people who'd been hurt by the disclosure of their health data. And that's what I've spent 30 years listening to is how people's lives and reputations have been ruined when someone gets hold of their health data. I would love for the healthcare system to actually put patients, consumers, back in control of their data so that it could be used to help them, so that it's never used to harm them. But we aren't there yet. And that's what's so unfortunate about encouraging people right now to get their genomes and put them online, or even get genetic tests. I mean, we tell people, for God's sake, don't get a genetic test unless it's under an alias. You're not only going to harm yourself, and you might not care about yourself because, you know, like Esther says, you know, she's sort of beyond that and nobody can really hurt her. But what about your children? What about your grandchildren? What about your relatives? I mean, that's the problem with genetic data and genomic data. We have to get the privacy part right because no one should have the right to hurt others. Why would you want to do that? No one would want to do that. And today, health data is absolutely not safe. It's a massive asset that we don't control. The value of electronic health records, according to Rand, is $81 billion, and so everyone wants your health data. And I just get so upset about prominent, wonderful people like Esther talking about sharing health data who have no knowledge of the harm that causes to regular people every day. Well, the other thing that Esther brings up is the fact that when she went to try to collect her health records, she had an intern. And the intern worked all summer and still could only get 33% of her records. A friend of mine, Bill Yasnov, likes to talk about health records. You know, the physician's access to health records is nil. It's like an information-free zone, and it's not funny. But clearly, health information today is siloed in doctors' offices, and so it can't be used either to save you or to do research. And so, of course, we need smart technology. Of course, we need to be able to use the data to not only to help the individual, but to understand the causes of conditions by being able to do research over millions of people. She hasn't lived my life. You know, I've been in practice over 30 years, and I've seen so many people who've been harmed because their data went places that they never, ever would have given consent for it to go. Well, the other thing I'd like to pick up on is she talks about I could do this because I don't have a secret past. A lot of people have a secret past, a very sensitive past that they wouldn't want the world to know because they fear being hurt or exploited. 20-25% of Americans have been abused as children, emotionally, sexually, physically. There are many women and men too that have been abused, and they don't want the world to know this. The same is true of people who've had major depression or certain other mental illnesses. It's not that these things are secret. I mean, these are things that people want to and need to talk about with people that they care about and that they trust, but they're not appropriate to share with the world when there's still so much stigma. They're just not. Well, the problem with your genome isn't that people can get inside. The problem is that somebody, and it's going to be a boss, it's going to be a potential boss or employer or an insurer or a banker, is going to look at your genome, look at your risk of heart disease or how about Alzheimer's, and say, you know what? I don't want to hire this person. I don't want to give them a loan. Or if I give you a loan, it's going to be at an increased rate of interest. They're gonna be fearful of you costing them a lot of money because you might have a disease or a condition, and that's just wrong. Now, but 30 to 40% of people with mental illnesses, depression or addictions, are off the grid. They will not go to see any person for treatment who will keep a record or enter their records into systems because they don't want to be harmed. So unless we get privacy, we are never going to have the kind of rich, detailed, longitudinal data on mental illnesses about what treatments are effective until we get privacy. People pay cash to see therapists out of pocket, or they go to AA or NA. We will never get the right data unless people are certain that health information won't be used against them in jobs. And that's my problem with this whole concept of sharing. You can't share when the wrong people get your data. What are we going to do about it? I'm going to do everything I can think of about it. This year in particular, we're going to start a consumer-led organization to certify with a good housekeeping kind of seal of approval health platforms, health applications, health products that really ensure that consumers control their data, consumers alone, and we think that that's going to change the marketplace. We think that's going to move everything. Today, the only organizations that are certifying health IT products are foxes designing the hen coops, and none of the chickens are feeling very safe about that.